You know that we love MIDI, and it's great. But what about devices that don't have MIDI but offer external control by way of a control port? There are many fantastic pieces of gear like that. So how do we incorporate them with the rest of your MIDI gear and control them all together? With its built-in relay ports, the MC6 Pro allows you to do just that. Relay switching is one of the features we are really excited to introduce with the MC6 Pro. In today's video, we'll explain how you can control non-MIDI devices with the MC6 Pro MIDI controller. The three most common types of gear that can be controlled by relay switching are amps. These typically have control ports for switching amp channels or turning effects on and off. Delay pedals that do not have MIDI but have a port for external tap tempo control. Pedals that allow you to switch modes or recall presets via an external foot switch. In this video, we'll be getting our hands on each of these devices and take a look at how the MC6 Pro can control them, starting off with amps. Here we have the Fender Princeton Reverb, and like most amps, it has a port on its rear that says foot switch. With this particular amp, when the foot switch is connected, you can turn the reverb and tremolo effects on and off. Such an amp foot switch would typically look like this. But now with the MC6 Pro, you don't need a foot switch like that and can switch your amp together with your pedals all at the same time. Before we dive in, let's first show you how to connect your relay switchable devices to the MC6 Pro. The MC6 Pro's relay ports are 3.5mm to be able to fit into its compact format. Most relay control ports are 1/4 inch, so you're going to need a 3.5mm male to 1/4 inch female TRS adapter that is commonly available and also available on our website. With that, you can use any 1/4 inch TRS cable you want to connect to a device you want to control. Now back to the Princeton. Here we have an empty bank, and I'm gonna set up two switches to toggle on and off the reverb and tremolo effects on the amp. Let's name the first switch reverb, then select the press action and choose the relay switching message type. In this case, I have relay port A connected to the amp, so let's select port A. You can choose to engage the tip, ring, or both with the relay port. The reverb effect on the Princeton is controlled by the ring, so we'll leave the tip to do nothing. Then under ring action, we'll select engage. Since we want this switch to toggle the effect on and off, we'll enable toggle mode for this preset and copy the first message and paste it to the second message. The only change we need to make to the second message is set the ring to disengage. Put the first message in toggle position 1 and second message in toggle position 2. To give us some visual feedback for whether the reverb is engaged or not, we'll give this preset a darkened aqua color in position 1 and standard aqua color in position 2. We'll copy the reverb preset and paste it to an empty switch. The only change we need to make are change ring to tip because tremolo is controlled by the tip. Change our preset name to tremolo and choose a different color. Hit save, and now we have a switch that toggles tremolo on and off as well. Let's move on to controlling tempo of a non-MIDI capable delay pedal. The non-MIDI delay we have here is the Boss DD8. If you're one of those pedal nerds, you'll notice that this DD8 has a DD3 front panel. I have no idea how that happened, but this is a DD8, and the MC6 Pro relay switching will work with any delay pedal that has a tap tempo input. Let's set up a tap tempo switch for the DD8 that also syncs it with other MIDI capable time-based effects. In this example, we'll have the H90 connected as well. Starting with an empty switch again, the first message we need is a MIDI clock tap message to function as a tap tempo switch for the MIDI capable pedals. In this case, the H90. The second message we need is a relay switching message. This time we'll set the tip to tap, normally open, NO for short on the editor. This way, the relay will function as a tap tempo switch, triggering a momentary switch open and close each time you press it. And that's it. Now when I tap this switch, you can see the MIDI clock BPM being updated on the MC6 Pro and being sent to the H90. At the same time, the relay triggers to input tap tempo to the DD8 at the same intervals as the MIDI clock tap. The BPMs of both the MIDI-capable H90 and non-MIDI DD8 can now be synced by a single tap switch. But of course, we had to add some extra sauce and allow these relay ports to function as more than just tap tempo switches. What if you want to set the DD8 to a predetermined BPM? Well, you can do that too. Let's use this switch to set the DD8 to 129 BPM. Let's name the preset 129 BPM. Then we just need to add a MIDI clock message that's set to 129 BPM, followed by a relay switching message that syncs the connected device to the current MIDI clock BPM. This is done by triggering the relay port to send 8 pulses in sync with the current MIDI clock BPM. And with that, pressing this switch sets both the H90 and DD8 to 129 BPM. You can also have the non-MIDI delay pedal running at whatever BPM you want and then sync it up to your MIDI clock BPM on the fly. Here I have a MIDI clock tap tempo switch, and as I tap it you can see that the DD8 does not change tempo, but MIDI clock BPM does change. When I hit this switch, the relay port will send 8 syncing relay pulses and get the DD8 in sync with the MIDI clock BPM. Moving on to the final non-MIDI device we have with us today, the JHS Morning Glory V4. This device has a red remote port on its side that allows you to engage a boost mode that offers a more powerful sound with enhanced low end and grit. The LED light on the pedal turns from blue to red when boost is engaged, which we can also mirror on the MC6 Pro's display, allowing you to keep your eyes focused on just your MIDI controller. Setting this up is really easy. Let's name this switch Boost and add a relay switching message. And since we want to toggle between boost on and off, we'll enable toggle mode. To make the preset colors match the Morning Glory, let's choose blue for position 1 and red for position 2. This time we are using relay port B. Having 2 relay ports means that you can have multiple non-MIDI devices connected at the same time and control them individually or simultaneously. To engage the boost on the Morning Glory, we need to engage the tip. We can leave the ring doing nothing as the Morning Glory does not make use of it. Set this message to position 1 and let's copy and paste this to position 2. Change tip action to disengage and put this message in position 2. Done. Now we can toggle boost on and off with matching colors to boot. This is the place to be for tips, tricks, and all the latest news. If you've been enjoying this video, a quick like and sub to the channel would be very much appreciated. Catch you again in the next video.